Hey guys, we're live on YouTube here as the embargo has just broken for The Adam Project. The very latest by Netflix, the blockbuster, second time we have seen our good friends Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy team up in a blockbuster, really. I mean, you look at Free Guy, obviously that was a huge hit for Fox/Disney, and really the theatrical savior. If you look at how that film performed back in August, there was a lot of discussion about theaters. Like, are they going to make it? Are theaters going to survive? And then Free Guy came in and just did business, and then consistently did business weekend after weekend, which is rare to see a film hold like that. We're going to get into the Batman second weekend here in a few minutes, but let's talk about the Adam Project. As I just tweeted out, listen, this is a film very much like the Tomorrow War, only light years better. Okay, let's make that perfectly clear right off the bat. Tomorrow War, not a great film. This is very much of a Back to the Future meets the Tomorrow War, meets time travel, meets all kinds of, basically it's another one of these huge blockbuster things that Netflix has put out, very much like Red Notice. They expect a lot of views on this film. And the good news is it is solid, okay? It works best in the emotional moments, the smaller moments of this film. The sci-fi of it is decent. We've seen it so many times before, though. And I think the effects are definitely shaky. We'll get into that in a minute. But the moments of this film that really work are when Ryan Reynolds is really, breaking down his life with his mother as he's older. She doesn't know it's him. And these moments of human connection that are in this film between Ryan Reynolds and Jennifer Gardner at a bar, when it's son talking to mother doesn't know it's son. These are the moments in this film that make the film great at those moments. The problem is the rest of it is okay. It is just, like I said, the visual effects are just shaky. I think the issue really comes back to Netflix. If you look at their films, their visual effects department, and I know a lot of it's outsourced, but you still have to have a crew that is very talented at putting together visual effects. And I don't think Netflix has that yet. When you watch this film, you're going to see what I'm talking about. The spaceship looks okay, but then there's times that it looks really like literally computer graphics in front of the screen they shot. That's the weak part of this film. But Ryan Reynolds, let's face it, when he is on, and he's on in every movie, I mean, he basically plays a version of himself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Are you kidding me? What actor does not play a version of themselves, right? Almost every single time. George Clooney, love him. He's the same in every movie. He's George Clooney, right? There's Brad Pitt. You're talking about actors do what they do well, and that's why they're successful, and that's why Ryan Reynolds, he is so good at what he does. The smart ass, quick wit, right, that he's going to deliver movie in, movie out. And he does it here with this young kid. And let me tell you, this young kid is super talented. Walker Scobell is his name. Apparently an unknown. I mean, he's has really no major credits to his name. And they were looking at the tapes of all the people, the people that want to be in the movie. Let's look at the audition tapes. And they go, wait a second, who's that? And when you see the movie, you'll see. I mean, to play Ryan Reynolds, that persona, as a 12-year-old, not easy. I'm sorry, I don't want any part of that. Especially as a 12-year-old. This kid is fearless, and you have to be. You're working next to Ryan Reynolds, and you're playing Ryan Reynolds as a 12-year-old. So that kid, he is on the map. When you see him, total standout. One thing I want to make note of here, I give major credit to the producers of this film. How many times have you seen a younger version of an actor and then the older version in a movie? And the younger version has brown eyes and the older version has blue eyes. I don't know about you, but usually your eye color stays the same throughout your life. In this movie, and what's interesting, when I watched an interview with Walker, the kid, he actually has blue eyes. So I assume they went in and gave him brown eyes. I know this is a little detail, but let me tell you something. These are the things that matter to me when you watch a film. The continuity, right? That you see films and they miss on, and you're just like, what are you doing? How did you mess that up? Little things matter. But this film is successful in the emotional moments, the small, intimate moments between, again, Ryan Reynolds and Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo and Walker. These kids are really, really, the entire cast really works in those moments. But again, the sci-fi is okay, but much better than Tomorrow War, which is a terrible film. Okay, straight up. If you like Tomorrow War, God bless. You're going to love this. You're going to think this is a masterpiece. So definitely a very solid grade for me, 8.5 out of 10. And really, for me, Ryan Reynolds always going to win. Always going to win. And that's not because he followed me on Twitter today, by the way. That is not why I'm giving this an 8.5. It has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Ryan, if you're one of the people watching right now, that's not why we got the score, because I really do like your work. Okay, let's talk about the Batman. And we're talking second weekend here. And we all know we had that surge over the weekend where it actually went up. I've told you so many times that Warner Brothers really downplayed. They put that number, they lowballed it for Sunday so that they could get that number back up and then generate, some hype of the film outperforming and all this. But it ends up at 134 million. And the last couple days, it's been rated about 11 million, Monday and Tuesday, which is great. We'll see what happens, obviously, with Wednesday's number. But as we go into the second weekend, I wanted to pull up some comparables. And I'm figuring this thing out, so please bear with me as I try to share screens. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm very excited. I hope it does. Let's go ahead and share the screen here. I'm going to pull up the first comparable for me very easily. It is Joker. Okay, right? I mean, Joker is just the obvious comparable here. And as we look at it, okay, obviously the main difference between Joker and the Batman is Joker is an R-rated film, okay? But you look down here at opening weekend for Joker at 96 million. So obviously the Batman is far ahead of that by 40 million, okay? But when you look at that second weekend of 55 million, that is only a 42% drop, right? 42%, which is really strong. If you're going to have a film drop, 42 is about as good as you can get. So that's a decent comparison. I think that one thing that we make note as I show these comparisons as we go on here is that you have to take note of the fact that when a film opens lower, then obviously the hold should be better, especially if the word of mouth is good, because not as many people went out to see it opening weekend. So in this case, it's going to be harder for the Batman to keep going. Another comparable I want to pull up is the Suicide Squad, or just Suicide Squad, the original, obviously 2016. Let me pop that one up one sec. And what we're going to do when we look at this one is you're going to see a very similar, obviously, drop, but wait till you see the difference in one very important factor. It dropped like almost another 20%. Let's look at it. First weekend was 133, and then look, second weekend was 43 million. That's a 67% drop. And you talk about that. That is crazy. I mean, that's a huge drop. But look what was going on, the Rio Olympics. When you have the Rio Olympics going on, back then the Olympics were a big deal. Now, like, the Winter Olympics are just on, right? And how many of you didn't watch a second of it? Me. I don't know about you. I didn't watch 1 second. But when you look at that drop, that is factored into Rio. It was in the summer, all these things. But that's a massive drop of almost, what did we look at, 70%? So you're looking at 67%. The other comparable that I want to bring to light is obviously Batman versus Superman. As we look at that one, and the drop on that, I think, is about where we might be here. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens here, because as far as I'm concerned, here it is, pulled up, is you look at this drop here of Batman, Superman, it was 69. But here's the problem, is that you're looking at a 3-hour movie. How many times have we talked about this? A 3-hour film is a lot to ask of someone to go out and commit to. And we talked about repeat viewings. If you want to have repeat viewings, come back and watch a movie again, a 3-hour film is tough. I haven't seen it for a second time. I will see it for a second time, but it's not like high on my list, super high on my list to go out and see again, even though I really love the film, certainly in moments, the Batman. But when you ask someone to sit through a 3-hour movie, you are, again, asking for a major commitment. And also, you have people that, aren't going to go back as much and have the repeat viewing. So we have to keep a close eye on this. Joker is the best case scenario. If you can end up with a scenario where you have a 42% drop in weekend 2, then Warner Brothers is going to be hell yeah, because that's really strong, okay? But I don't think we're going to be there. I think we're going to be at 50% plus. The closer we get that number to 50, the happier Warner Brothers is going to be. The word of mouth here is an A- on CinemaScore, which means solid, not super glowing, but solid enough to keep going. So that's the situation with the Batman for the second weekend. I really think that it comes down to, obviously, the runtime being an issue, the fact there's no families involved here, because the families largely aren't coming because we know it's a 3-hour movie about serial killing. And, I mean, it's 7 in the Batman. So you're talking about a movie that's not for kids. And that eliminates a huge portion of your audience. So when you lose those people, you are in trouble as far as holding and bringing in new eyes. You only have so many adults in the marketplace that are interested in the first place. We'll see what happens weekend 2. But so far, so good on Monday and Tuesday with the hold. And again, we'll see how it holds this second weekend. I'm going to go with 55% drop, which is still going to be a very solid, weekend. It'll probably be, what is that, about 60 million or so. That would be okay, 60, 65. I think Warner Brothers would be very happy with that. So I think ultimately Warner Brothers is going to give us the sequel. We haven't had the word. We're going to get that word any day. Any moment it's coming, because they just want to see how this legs out over the next several days and weeks. The other thing that we really have to pay attention to here is the fact that there's nothing new in movie theaters. The newest thing this week is, we talked about at the top of the show, The Adam Project, but that's on Netflix. I wish it had a theatrical component. I wish that this were a Universal film that was in theaters. It's good enough to be a theatrical release with improved visual effects. You're going to see the visual effects, and they're just not quite at the level that we expect from a major studio, from Disney, obviously, from Universal, even from Sony. When you look at Venom and Venom 2, visual effects aren't stellar, but they're at least passable. You didn't look at it and go, that looks like crap. In some of these shots, they really are subpar. And I think that Netflix really needs to get a handle on this going forward. If this is the game they want to play and get into this blockbuster game, which I understand 100% that you want to get into that, because obviously you're paying Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy a lot of money to bring this here. It started at Paramount with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is supposed to be in this thing, The Adam Project. And then it sat around. Netflix picked it up. They said, let's go. They made it during COVID. And you can see during the film, you can see part of the issues that arise from COVID. When you shoot something with COVID, you guys can imagine it's a much more arduous process. You have all these COVID coordinators on the set. I've been on 2 different sets during COVID. You've got to wear mask and shield half the time. You can only have a limited number of people that are even there obviously the actors in the scene, but really even the crew. You have to really limit who's there. So it's harder to make a film. So you see a little bit of that in the Adam Project as well. Let's pull up a couple of comments here. I think this is a good one. Yeah, Turning Red is interesting. I'm not really high on Turning Red. I think that for a film that delves into the psyche of, a girl turning into a woman, right? That age, that awkward age of middle school, when you're turning into no longer a little kid, you're going to watch Inside Out. Okay, Inside Out is 1 million times stronger than Turning Red. There's not even a comparison. But yes, I think that is an issue for the Batman. People are going to go see Turning Red at home. They're going to watch Adam Project at home. Adam Project's going to have a huge number of people know Ryan Reynolds. He is a bankable commodity. Okay, that is why Netflix wanted to be in business with him. Who doesn't want to be in business with Ryan Reynolds? Are you kidding me? Absolutely. Every studio does. So Netflix has him this weekend. They are pushing the film. Again, I just wish there's a theatrical component. I wish that AMC, I wish that Regal and Cinemark would sit down with Netflix and say, give us 2 weeks of your films. 2 weeks. So let's say they wanted to debut The Adam Project this coming Friday. they would have put it in theater 2 weeks ago and allow them to make money from that and come up with some special, whatever, bend the rules, figure it out, make it work so that Netflix allows you to have a film. Theaters need product, and for 2 weeks, that's it, 14 days, and then it's on Netflix. We're going to see what's going to happen, but I think anytime you have, again, how many times have we talked about this? When you have a film at home versus a film that is theatrical, you're probably going to pick the one at home. And Turning Red and Adam Project are much more family friendly than the Batman. So that is going to be interesting to watch how that turnout comes for those two films this weekend. We don't get those numbers immediately. It's not like the old school Nielsen ratings. We knew overnight what the ratings were, even if it was just basically, a few people that extract the number and make it gigantic. We had some idea. In this case, Netflix will come out with a number that's insane for this, because I'm sure it will. Let's see. Got something here about the Batman. I watched the Batman last night. The crowd was decent for a Tuesday night. I mean, look, it made about 11 million, a little under. So that isn't bad, right? I mean, that's a solid number for a Tuesday. Monday was about the same. So you're having this 11 million. I would imagine today would be about 11 million. And remember this, it's a 3-hour commitment, right? Again, 3-hour commitment. When you commit to a film for 3 hours on a Tuesday, then that is a lot. And that takes, think about it. You get off work. The average person, let's say, works till 5:36. They get to the movie at 7. They sit through the movies with previews and all that, 7 to 10:30, go home and go to bed. It's not as easy as going and getting a 2-hour movie in. I wish that Warner Brothers had figured some way, and Matt Reeves, to get this film closer to 2:20. I just feel like it's a better film at 2:22. It is. It's a little too long. I think we all know that. If you come in at 2:20, even 2:30, you're talking about 30 minutes gone, and that gets even a few more people in versus a 3-hour runtime. Thank you, Nathan. Nathan says that he's in Ohio and stayed up for this. That's exciting. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Nathan. That's my home state, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. I had the Columbus Crew jersey on the other night. Now I've got West Ham. This is, listen, whenever you watch the channel, you're going to see me in a soccer jersey. I've got literally 50 of them in there in the closet, and we'll bring a new one out every time. This is interesting. Everett says we had one night only screenings of Adam Project in Canada tonight. Makes sense, because as you know, Ryan Reynolds, Canadian. So they had one night in Canada. I think that there are a few that are, some screenings are going on at, Cinemark. I don't know, Cinemark. Maybe Cinemark here in LA. But it's definitely not Regal. It's definitely not AMC. But they're trying to put it in a few theaters. But I'm telling you right now, the film deserves to be theatrical with better visual effects. Ultimately, I think people are going to really like The Adam Project. It's the kind of movie that the average moviegoer likes. And I think that's what Netflix is trying to do here. They're making movies, granted, there is Power of the Dog, obviously, that is not for the average moviegoer. But this is the Red Notice. This is their Red Notice, right? We have another one of these all-inclusive, easily accessible films for the Netflix crowd. And this is perfect. It's perfect for families, and that's what they're trying to do here. And I just, again, wish they took some of that money that they obviously budgeted for this and did better effects. You'll see it. It's unfortunate that it's not as great as you expect when you watch a Guardians of the Galaxy. And by the way, Sean Levy, when you watch this film, you're going to say he tries to do Guardians, James Gunn Guardian stuff with this. You really see that. The use of songs, not at James Gunn level. I mean, James Gunn, listen, what he did with the first Guardians, just that initial, the way that man directed that film, his imprint on that film is so specific, right? Most directors could never do that, okay? They wouldn't have the skill set to do that. But to have the balls to do that for an MCU film, and that's what made Guardians so original. It blew me away when I saw that. That summer, it's like August of, what was that, 2014? I think 2014. Expectations were low. Like, Guardians, this is coming out in August. It's an MCU movie. This was before the MCU was, like, insane. It was big, but it wasn't, like, people didn't have that big expectation of Guardians. Then you see what James Gunn did to the film. And you guys know, that is the reason Guardians is Guardians. James Gunn. If you give that to another director, it is not the same film. But you're going to see when you watch The Adam Project and say, hey, look, Sean's trying to do James Gunn, Guardians. No question. Not as good, but I admire the effort because you got to love songs. I mean, he plays My Love Opens the Door by Pete Townsend. I have the 45 of that record. Okay, I went to Kmart and bought the 45 of that record. So anytime that a filmmaker uses Pete Townsend, My Love Opened the Door, you kidding me? That's a win. So right there was easy, an extra 0.5 on the score. Let's see, let's pop this one up. Which Levy Reynolds film? Oh, there's no question. Which one do I enjoy more? It's Free Guy. I mean, Free Guy is a hell of an entertaining film, isn't it? When I saw that film, this was back in, early August. Disney was didn't know what to do there. I don't know about this. It's a Fox movie. Let's just put it out there. And then you see it. It is so entertaining. And the visual effects in that film are really strong. I mean, absolutely. And no, Free Guy. Free Guy's better than Adam Project. But Adam Project's better than Red Notice, okay? It's much better than Tomorrow War. So if we're talking about a streaming blockbuster film, then Adam Project is number one in that for me. And then I would probably go Red Notice, even though it's not great, but at least it's passable. Again, Ryan Reynolds, I'm sorry, I will always enjoy Ryan Reynolds in a movie. The one thing I want to see when you watch Adam Project, you're going to see the scenes with him and his mom, okay? And the scenes that he has with him and Jennifer Gardner, who plays his mom, you're going to say to yourself, this is what I want to see from Ryan Reynolds. I want to see this man in one of these films that are behind me, one of these award films, okay? Not in this. This is fine. This is good. But I think it's time for Ryan Reynolds to go back into what he explored before he became the brand that he is, indie film, right? He needs to get back into that. I would look for something, if I were his agent, certainly hopefully he is too, looking for a small script, grounded script. I think he could handle it. He has the chops to do it. And when you watch this film and you see those emotional moments between himself and Jennifer Gardner, himself and Ruffalo, himself and Walker, this kid, you see the moments that would translate into one of these award films. Okay? I think we're going to see that from Ryan Reynolds at some point in the near future. You're going to see him in a studio, who knows, A24, maybe a neon film. I mean, it's crazy. But if he wants to get it done, he's going to get it done. He just has to find the script. Can you imagine? Anyone who has a script out there and all of a sudden they say, Ryan Reynolds wants to do it. Done. Here's your budget. You're in. Here's your money. We're good. Make it. Because we are going to be looking at that talent. We have that talent with Ryan Reynolds. There's no reason we can't have him on one of these FYC screeners in the near future. The only director that could have done something similar to Gunn's Guardian of the Galaxy is Adam McKay. Yeah, I think so. McKay's very specific, right? The way he directs, and we all know Big Short, obviously Vice, not a huge fan of Vice at all. But I do like Don't Look Up. I really do. I think it works, especially as a COVID tale. As a COVID tale, it really, really just fires. And I know some of you do not like that film. That's fine, but you're on the wrong side of that. Just so you know, you're on the wrong side. Don't Look Up is solid. But Adam McKay, yes, has a very specific directorial style. And I think that would possibly work. But I still think it's Gunn. You know, listen, he grew up in the 70s. I grew up in the 80s. So if I ever made a Guardians movie, it would have all 80s songs. Duran Duran, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, New Order, Pet Shop Boys. It would be all that stuff. So it wouldn't be 70s stuff. But that's just because that's the era you grow up in. That's what you're familiar with, right? So yes, I think that McKay has a very specific style. I don't know if he could have done what Gunn did to Guardians, but I know what you're saying. Rel, you're saying that obviously he has a very specific style. And that I do love that about a director. When you watch something, you go, I know who that is, right? You know for sure. Because that is, Adam McKay is like, Adam McKay. You know it. All right, guys, we're just about done here on this Wednesday night. We'll do it again soon. I wanted to break this out right now because obviously the Adam Project embargo just lifted, so I wanted to get that out there. You're going to like the film. I have a feeling you're going to enjoy it. Your mileage will vary as far as how much you enjoy it, but I think you're going to see those emotional moments in the Adam Project are strong. And those are the moments that resonate with me, and that's why I give the film an 8.5 out of 10. Very solid film. And hopefully the Batman holds for Warner Brothers, because that's going to be a win for all of us. We need to keep theatrical going along until Morbius shows up, Morbius is going to outperform. I promise you that. Morbius will outperform. That is coming in early April as we build towards that. Go Batman. Give me a good second weekend. We'll talk again really soon. This weekend we'll go over the numbers. Thanks again. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk very soon.